The one where Ross finds out is probably one of the most iconic episodes of Friends, and the only thing that I find weird about this episode is that it's the 7th episode of the 2nd season, and I feel like it would have worked better as a season finale or even as a season opener. But nevertheless, even though that's not the case, it still works wonderfully well. There will be spoilers in this discussion for this episode, of course. This was released in November 1995, directed by Peter Bonerz, and we have various narratives going on here. The first one, I'll obviously come back to the one where Ross finds out. I'll leave that discussion until the end. But first of all, Chandler, it seems, has put on a bit of weight, and Monica persuades him, perhaps bullies him into letting her coach him. And we have this brilliant macho man sequence of Monica trying to train with Chandler, and Chandler definitely doing everything he can to get out of it. And I like that aspect. I think that came across very well. They brought it back into the episode every now and then, just to keep the narrative going full loop, and I thought it was good fun. It's definitely light-hearted and entertaining, and as soon as I heard the Macho Man song, I kind of wanted to get up and work out with them. So, possibly inspiring a little bit too. There is another narrative with Phoebe that, to be honest, I didn't really care for too much. She's dating somebody who won't put out. It's a very much self-contained narrative. It starts off, it concludes itself within the episode. I didn't think it was that interesting, to be perfectly honest, but there is a kind of speech towards the end of it that I think was quite entertaining and thought-provoking. And there's not much Joey in here. Joey doesn't really have much of a narrative here, but he's in it quite a lot, so that's pleasing to some degree. And the main narrative. The scene where Rachel is in the restaurant on a date with Michael, I think is incredibly iconic. It's one of those scenes where I could just play it in my head all the way through, and she leaves the voicemail message for Ross saying that she's over him and she's got closure now. And we have a beautiful scene the next morning where Rachel has no recollection of what she's done, and Ross comes over to get the cat toys, and he listens to his messages on Monica's phone, or I guess Monica and Rachel's phone, and he hears the voicemail. And I kind of like the fact that they just sort of left it at that point, and they didn't discuss it. Obviously, Julie was waiting downstairs, and it's quite interesting that Julie's not really been in it very much for a few episodes. She's obviously, whenever she's there, it's because she's meeting Ross, or she walks into somewhere with Ross, and then the scene almost finishes. I think that's obviously very effective and very well done. We're not getting too close to this character because we know kind of the outcome of this episode, at least. And the scene in Central Perk, what happens is just, it's stunning. And the kiss, and that scene, every time you see a kind of the Best of Friends clip show, or there's like an award show for Friends, or an anniversary, this clip pretty much always features. And there's a very good reason for why it always features. It's beautifully executed, the timing is perfect, the music is stunning, the lighting is exquisite. If, had it been during the day, it still would have been as effective and as moving, but it just makes it all more beautiful and romantic. And my cat is meowing in appreciation. I am sure she is agreeing with me. And mysterious, almost. And I think it's brilliant. So the episode itself is obviously very prominent, very iconic. As I said, it makes it a bit odd that it's only the 7th episode. But regardless of where they placed this episode, it was always going to be beautiful. And needless to say, it's just comedy after comedy after comedy, and then we get that scene, and all of the comedy's kind of stripped away from it. Well, almost, because we also have the whole thing with the door not opening properly. They just inject just enough humour in there to keep it on the surface, but after an entire episode of basically comedy, they pull it all together with a beautiful, emotional ending. And needless to say, it's a beautifully crafted, gorgeously executed episode.